Okay, so virtualization. A lot of you have virtualized environments. Probably most of you, I would think. Anybody running on bare metal? Okay, Gus. Yes? Okay, we got one smart person in the back. Excellent. So if you're running a virtualized environment, one of the key things is to not over-provision it. Don't put more stuff on that server than it could actually run if everything ran at once. Because what will happen is that the individual VMs will compete with each other. They'll need to get scheduled. From within the VM that your database is running in, it'll look like you're not doing a whole lot. It'll look like you're actually pretty quiet, sleepy, not a lot happening, not a lot of demand for CPU. But what's really happening is that the hypervisor is having trouble scheduling you. And that might be because you have too many VMs on the physical server. It might be because the one that you've defined is too big. So you have an 8-core VM and you've got a whole bunch of little 2-core VMs. Guess who gets scheduled first? The little 2-core VMs get scheduled before the 8-core because it's easier to do that. But you also don't want to exaggerate. You don't want to go to IT and say, hey, I need this great big giant VM because I got peak processing and I'm the most important application out there. No, you want to size it for what you really need. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to underdo it. You want to get it just about right. The penalty can be as high as 50%. Can be. That's not to say it will be, but it can be. You can suffer quite desperately when you have a over or under provisioned VM. Hyperconverged, everybody know what hyperconverged is? That's software-defined everything. So basically, yet another layer to make things even slower. Nutanix, anybody got Nutanix? That's the worst of the bunch. Anyway, nothing could ever possibly go wrong with software controlling your system, right? Because we're all software guys and we know how well software works. Trust our lives to it. Virtualization, not free, not cheap. Okay, there's no such thing as a high-performance SAN. Mike, I think that's a phrase I stole from you. Anybody have a high-performance SAN? Anybody try to have a high-performance SAN? The problem with SANs is that the data has to go through layer after layer after layer. So your CPU needs some data, and it's going to try to get that data. It's going to make a request to a disk controller. The disk controller is going to take that request and is going to put it on a network controller. The network controller is going to put it out on the network, and it's going to go through a couple of switches and fabric and whatever all you got. And it's going to get to the SAN. The SAN is going to read it, and it's going to go to another disk controller. And the disk controller is going to go out to a RAID controller, and then it's going to get the data. And now it has to turn around and go the other way with all that data. So there are a lot of steps, there are a lot of layers, and a lot of latency for that data to get from the disk to your CPU. And you can't solve that problem by having an all-flash SAN, because the flash is in the wrong place. It's at the wrong end of that cable. And the cable, even if it's fiber, what's the speed of light? The speed of light is 1 foot per second, or about 30 centimeters per second. And that's in a vacuum. In fiber, it's 2/3 of that. And there's nothing you can do about that. There's no magic. You can't make anything go faster than the speed of light, so you're stuck. So everything gets involved, slows things down. So your fastest storage is going to be your internal solid-state drives, some sort of SSD variant on that. It's also cheaper than a SAN, by the way. So, if you're cost conscious, go with internal storage, way cheaper. The only problem is that your storage administrator might have to work nights and weekends once in a while. So one of the main reasons that people use SANs is for ease of administration. Basically, you can do things more readily from the central console. You don't have to go to the individual servers. You don't have to have logins here, there, and everywhere to do it. But the problem with that is you can make mistakes really easily in the central location as well. We had a customer and the SAN administrator, what was his name? It's hard to remember because he's not working anymore. But he was doing the migration, and he was getting ready to do the migration, and he wanted to test something, and that involved wiping out all the ones for the test database. And I was at lunch with the IT manager of that particular company, and everybody's phones went off all at once. Production's down. Why is production down? Nothing should be happening. Well, production disappeared. What do you mean it disappeared? It's gone. How could that be? Well, we got back to the office and we found out that the sand administrator had deleted production, not test.